1965, a film crew filmed inside active volcanoes, detonated real TNT under miniature cities, and allegedly smuggled classified nuclear test footage into a Hollywood production. Crack in the World wasn't just a disaster movie, it was a disaster waiting to happen. Today, we're uncovering 20 facts that prove this production was just as catastrophic as the earth-splitting apocalypse it depicted on screen. Fact 1. The legendary Earth crack shot. Let's start with the image that defined the movie. That sweeping shot of the Earth's surface splitting across entire continents became instantly iconic. In 1965, audiences had never seen planetary destruction visualized quite like this. The crack, zigging and zagging across the globe, wasn't just scary, it felt prophetic. Special effects artists spent months perfecting the trajectory of that crack, studying actual fault lines and tectonic maps to make it geologically plausible. They wanted viewers to think, this is exactly how it would happen. And it worked. This single visual became the calling card for every global disaster film that followed, from Earthquake to 2012. It's the shot that made people believe the impossible could happen. Fact 2. A real volcano was used. The producers didn't mess around with special effects when they could use the real thing. They traveled to the Canary Islands and filmed actual volcanic eruptions. That bubbling, churning lava you see? Real magma, heated to over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Those ash clouds? Genuine volcanic fury, containing sulfur dioxide that could kill you in minutes with prolonged exposure. The crew risked heat exhaustion and toxic gases to capture footage that no studio backlot could replicate. Cameramen wore protective masks and heat-resistant suits, positioning themselves dangerously close to active lava flows. But the footage they captured was breathtaking and terrifying in equal measure. When you watch those lava sequences, you're seeing nature's genuine rage. Fact 3. The rocket drilling was miniature, but not everything was real. That massive Project Inner Space drilling rocket, the machine that starts this whole catastrophe, was actually a miniature. Over 20 feet long, this handcrafted model was one of the most ambitious miniature effects of the mid-1960s, requiring 3 months of continuous construction by a team of 8 specialized technicians. They built it with metal frameworks, detailed panels with working lights, and exhaust systems that could release actual smoke and steam. Every rivet was placed by hand. Every panel was individually weathered to look industrial and used. On screen, through careful camera work and forced perspective, it looks like a genuine industrial marvel towering hundreds of feet high, capable of drilling to the Earth's core. The illusion was so effective that NASA contacted the production after the film's release, wanting to examine the drilling technology used in the film. The producers had to explain, somewhat embarrassingly, that it was plywood, chicken wire, and paint. Fact 4. The lava was chemical soup. Meanwhile, for the lava scenes they couldn't film in the Canaries, the special effects team created their own molten nightmare. They mixed thickened chemical dyes with boiling gelatin and blasted it with steam jets to create bubbling, flowing lava. Here's the problem. These mixtures were extremely dangerous, releasing toxic fumes that could cause respiratory damage with prolonged exposure. The chemicals released vapors that made crew members dizzy and nauseous. The boiling gelatin could cause severe burns, and several technicians ended up in the infirmary with scalded hands and arms. Modern filmmakers watch footage of these techniques and are horrified, but audiences in 1965 had no idea they were watching scenes created through what amounted to chemical warfare against the crew. Fact 5. The Earth crack was hand-painted. That stunning shot of the crack spreading across the planet from space? Pure artistry. It was created by hand-painting animation plates, frame by frame, and layering them over rotating globe models. Artists sat for weeks painting the widening fissure, making it grow darker and deeper with each frame, advancing the crack by mere millimeters per painting. No computers, no digital effects. Just patient hands, tiny brushes, and meticulous attention to detail that would drive most people insane. The lead animator, a woman named Patricia Shields, painted over 400 individual frames for the main crack sequence. She worked in a windowless room with a magnifying glass, hunched over these plates for 10 to 12 hours a day. When you see that crack spread across continents, you're watching hundreds of hours of human craftsmanship and, frankly, human suffering. It's beautiful and haunting, but it costs someone their vision. That's the hidden price of movie magic. Fact 6. Dana Andrews was second choice. Now let's talk casting. Dana Andrews plays the lead scientist, but he wasn't the first choice. The studio originally approached Charlton Heston, fresh off The Ten Commandments, and Ben-Hur. Can you imagine Moses trying to save the earth from splitting apart? But Heston was unavailable, already committed to other projects. So Dana Andrews stepped in, bringing a weary, haunted quality to the role. Honestly, it worked better. Andrews' everyman exhaustion felt more believable than Heston's biblical grandeur would have. Fact 7. The subterranean sets flooded. And wait till you hear what happened during filming. The production built this elaborate underground laboratory set. Pipes, machinery, control panels, the works. Midway through shooting, a massive water line burst. Water came gushing in, flooding the entire set within minutes. Equipment was destroyed. Production shut down for days while crews pumped out thousands of gallons. The irony? Here they were making a movie about the earth cracking open, and they couldn't even keep their own set dry. Fact 8. Real nuclear fears inspired it. But here's why that crack hit so hard. People genuinely believed it could happen. During the Cold War, the United States and Soviet Union were detonating nuclear bombs underground at an unprecedented rate. Scientists and civilians alike worried that all this explosive force could destabilize the Earth's crust. Magazine articles asked, could nuclear testing crack the planet? The filmmakers didn't invent this fear. They exploited it brilliantly. This wasn't science fiction to 1960s audiences. This felt like a documentary from the future. Fact 9. Shot in Franco's Spain. Now, where do you film the end of the world on a budget? Spain, under Francisco Franco's dictatorship. The production moved to Spain because labor was dirt cheap and the vast desert landscapes could double for remote scientific outposts, but there was a darker reason too. Franco's government welcomed the production because they were desperate for international legitimacy and foreign currency. The regime was internationally isolated, and Hollywood productions gave them a veneer of normalcy. The crew found themselves shooting in scorching Spanish deserts, far from Hollywood oversight, which gave them creative freedom but also exposed them to the reality of living under fascist rule. American crew members were followed by secret police. Their hotel phones were tapped. One production assistant was detained overnight for photographing a government building by accident. But the production pressed on. Fact 10. Madeline Fisher quit acting after. Here's a sad footnote. Italian actress Madeline Fisher, who played a supporting role, made Crack in the World her final film. Immediately after production wrapped, she retired from cinema completely. No farewell tour, no final interviews, she just walked away. Whether it was the grueling Spanish shoot, industry disillusionment, or personal reasons, we'll never know. But her last performance is preserved forever in this disaster epic. Fact 11. The shockwave was real footage. Now this fact is controversial and a bit chilling. Some of those massive explosion shockwaves you see in the film, they're reportedly actual classified U.S. nuclear test footage, acquired through unofficial channels, which is Hollywood code for "we're not saying how we got it." These weren't actors or special effects. These were real atomic detonations captured by military cameras and somehow smuggled into a commercial film. In 1965, security around this footage was supposedly airtight, apparently not airtight enough. Fact 12. The meltdown suit was heavy. Back to Dana Andrews and his suffering. Those protective suits his character wears near the nuclear drilling operation? They weighed over 40 pounds. Imagine acting in the Spanish heat, under studio lights, encased in 40 pounds of rubberized fabric and metal fittings. Andrews nearly fainted multiple times. Between takes, crew members had to rush in, with ice packs and water. Method acting has nothing on physical endurance acting. Fact 13. Scientists criticized its premise. When the film premiered, geologists and seismologists had a field day mocking it. Articles appeared in scientific journals ridiculing the premise, "You can't crack the Earth like an egg." The scientific establishment called it absurd, impossible, fear-mongering nonsense. And you know what? All that criticism was the best publicity the studio could ask for. Controversy sells tickets. People flocked to theaters specifically to see what scientists were so worked up about. Fact 14. The cracking sound was unusual. Let's talk about that sound, that deep, resonant crack that rumbles through the film. Sound designers created it by layering recordings of tree trunks splintering, slowed down gunshots, and, here's the genius part, actual recordings of icebergs breaking apart in the Arctic Ocean. They combined natural sounds of fracturing wood, metal, and ice to create something that sounded both familiar and utterly alien. It's a sound design masterclass, decades before that term existed. Fact 15. Real explosives used in miniatures. The miniature work didn't stop at models. When they needed those canyons and fault lines to rupture on screen, they used actual TNT, real explosives, carefully placed beneath miniature landscapes, detonated while cameras rolled at high speed. One take only. If the explosion didn't look right, they had to rebuild everything from scratch. It was dangerous, expensive, and absolutely thrilling. You can feel the real force in those shots because it was real force. Fact 16. The hidden second Earth twist. Now here's the twist that blew minds in 1965. Spoiler alert, but the movie's over 60 years old. The film ends with a fragment of Earth breaking away and becoming a second moon, a piece of our planet drifting off into its own orbit. Audiences were stunned. This wasn't a happy ending or a tragic ending, it was cosmically weird. It suggested that humanity's interference had permanently altered our solar system. For 1960s moviegoers, this was bold, almost philosophical science fiction, masquerading as a disaster movie. Fact 17. A real earthquake hit production. Truth is stranger than fiction, right? During production, a minor earthquake actually hit the region where the cast and crew were staying. Cast members ran from their hotel rooms in panic. The crew, exhausted from shooting earthquake scenes all day, initially thought it was an elaborate prank. Then, the walls kept shaking. Given that they were making a movie about the Earth splitting apart, the timing felt cosmically ominous. Some crew members took it as a bad omen. Others just laughed at the absurd irony. Fact 18. The poster was banned. The theatrical poster became its own controversy. Several countries banned it outright, declaring it too frightening for public display. The imagery, showing the Earth with a massive fissure, and the tagline, suggesting planetary death, was deemed psychologically harmful. Officials worried it would cause panic or nightmares, especially among children. The studio, naturally, used these bans as marketing gold. The poster too terrifying to display. Fact 19. The director predicted fracking. Director Andrew Martin made a fascinating observation years later. He noted that the film accidentally predicted modern deep earth drilling technologies, specifically hydraulic fracturing or fracking. In the 1960s, drilling miles into the Earth's crust for energy was pure science fiction. By the 2000s, it was industrial reality. Martin pointed out that the film's central premise, using technology to extract energy from deep underground with potentially catastrophic consequences, had become eerily prophetic. Fact 20. One of the first global disaster films. Finally, Crack in the World deserves recognition as a pioneer. While disaster movies existed before, this was one of the first to frame the disaster as truly global. Not a city, not a region, but the entire planet under threat. It established the template. Scientists warning of catastrophe, authorities ignoring them, technology causing the problem, and humanity facing existential consequences. The Core, Earthquake, 2012, The Day After Tomorrow, they all owe a debt to this 1965 Spanish-American co-production about nuclear drilling gone wrong. Crack in the World cracked open a new genre and tapped into Cold War nightmares that still resonate today. If you love these facts, hit subscribe for more forgotten film history. And remember, sometimes the most terrifying disasters are the ones we create ourselves.